A lot of modern women love to play the victims. They lack self-awareness. A lot of them aren't aware of their actions, so it seems that they aren't aware of their actions, but they like to hold others accountable and blame everybody else for the issues that's happening in their lives and the issues that they are actually causing. So it's a delusional state. Y'all know how I feel about that, but it is the reality in which we live in and how a lot of modern women are today and how they act and how they behave and how it is negatively contributing to their lifestyles and in their lives, and not just in relationships, but overall. A lot of these women seem to not understand why things aren't going the way they feel and believe that they should go, but they're lacking accountability and self-awareness to the point where they really seem lost in the sauce, and they seem to really not understand why they are not getting what they desire and but not accepting and realizing that, hey, they play a major part in that. And I think it's a problem, and I think we need to address it, and we need to make it known that, these women lack self-awareness and how important that is to be aware of yourself, be aware of the choices that you make, be aware of your actions, be aware of how you portray yourself, be aware of how you come off to others. And on top of that, you're very, very critical of men in particular, Black men in particular. Let's be real. You're very critical of Black men because you think that you're better and you are not flawed. A lot of these women don't think that they have the same issues that they are complaining about in men, when in actuality, they actually have some of the same issues. Y'all were raised by the same mamas, same single mothers. So a lot of y'all have a lot of the same issues, but for some reason, Black women are beyond reproach, and they don't think that it applies to them. They don't think that they have any issues. They don't have any flaws. They can't even name 3. They don't see themselves, but they're very critical of others. And that's a real major problem. So, I just think that it's something that we have to address. We've been addressing men with issues. We've been addressing how some men can be very, ratchet or just very horrible men, and how men have treated women for years. We got enough of that on social media. We got enough of women bashing men and talking about how horrible they are. We've gotten that covered. We have so many talk shows and TV shows and just the modern women narrative that men are the problem, men are this, men are that, they need to do this, they're at the bottom of the barrel. That's covered. We got that covered on social media. We got it covered on TV. We got it covered everywhere. So everybody knows, Black men got a problem. They need to do this. But what they haven't covered for years is the fact that a lot of these women don't have a lot of their ish together, and that they are part of the problem as well. So we don't need to keep focusing on men. That's covered. You can go to 1,000 pages and 1,000 people telling you how horrible Black men and their horrible experiences. But what you don't see enough of is men and others calling out the horrible nature of a lot of these women, and how these women have been toxic in relationships, how they have been abusive to men, the things that they have done to contribute to the downfall of communities and relationships, and their part in all of this. So that's the part that's been ignored. So if we want to be equal in society, if we want to look at things in an equal way, we have to address the other side as well. We can't keep just putting it all on men without addressing the nature of women and how women have contributed to the downfall of communities and relationships. So we got to look at both sides. So we've done years and years and years of bashing men and talked about how they're this and they're that, but we haven't done years and years and years of talking about the nature of women and how women mess over good men and how they do a lot of the same things that they complain about in men. So it's time to focus on the combative nature of women so that they can start to understand that they're not perfect, and that you make mistakes, but it's justified, so you think it's okay. And nobody has ever really addressed it. And this is why they're so shocked and appalled when people talk about the nature of women, when they know, in fact, that a lot of that behavior is unacceptable and they shouldn't be doing it. But because there's no accountability, they can continue to perpetuate that and continue to push the narrative that, women are perfect and just the men. They're going to keep doing it because they don't want to be looked at as the villains. They're always the victims, right? So you don't want to look at the fact that you are doing something wrong because you just don't want to be wrong. You want to make it seem like it's just all the men. And it's time's up for that. We have to look at both sides. If we're going to call men out on their BS, we got to call women out on their BS as well. We can't just leave them sitting back. That's why it's gotten so bad, because nobody has ever called it out. Nobody has ever, there were people called it out, but they received a lot of pushback, because how dare you call a woman out on her BS? Like, come on now. Y'all are equal to men. You wanted to feel equal to men. You got that equal. So now you got to be equally called out on your BS the way you called it out on men. I'm not ignoring the fact that there are horrible men and horrible people out here. Men have broken up their relationships or treated women badly or abused women. That is a fact that has happened. And it's not just with black men. It's just there are black people, there are white people, there are all races of people who do horrible things. So we're not ignoring it, but we know all that to be the truth. And we've pondered on it and talked about it so much, but ultimately made it seem like it's just a black man thing. See, we really put the black man completely down and the black men in general, as if this is the nature of all black men, and that's not the case. So we got to separate the bad ones from the ones who are productive and doing what they're supposed to do. Just like women would want others to separate the ratchet hyenas from the productive, traditional loving women out there, because there are those women, and then there are the ratchet hyenas who think they're everything since sliced bread, and they don't want to be called out on anything. So it's time's up to just to keep on badgering men and putting them down without acknowledging how ratchet and how horrible a lot of these women are and how they just are lost, but they think they're everything and 10 bags of chips, child. They think that they're the best thing ever because they got a vagina and they got a job, and they think that they're, there's no correction for them. So we got to talk about it. That's why we talk about it, because it hasn't been talked about enough. So that's why now the focus has always been on men and still on men, but now we got to put the focus on these ratchet hyenas and how their behavior is affecting relationships in our community. So yeah, we're going to talk about it. They don't like it because any person who doesn't want to make a change is not going to like any type of constructive criticism. They're going to not like any type of correction, period, because you don't want to make a change because you like it where you are. You can benefit from that in certain ways, even though I don't think they still get the outcome they think they feel they should. You're the one actually benefit from that because you don't have to be held accountable for your atrocious behavior. You could just constantly blame men and just, walk on off in the sunset and think that you're doing something great. So nobody who's out here doing this, who doesn't want to make changes, is going to be happy when they're brought to the forefront. And that's what we see happening. That's why they are bitter and mad, because they're being called out. Successful MD, thank you for the super chat. Says women are perfect as a can of great value bread. Thank you for the super chat. Successful MD, I appreciate you. No accountability whatsoever, and they are perfect in their minds, but they're not getting perfect outcomes. They are not, and that's why they're mad as well. I get questions as well, or statements stating that, all you do is bash women. No, that's all women have done was bash men for the longest. Talk shows did it. Everybody did it. So to be fair, for years, all black men have been portrayed as these horrible men. They aren't responsible parents, and that's been debunked. They're not in their children's lives, and this is what they want the narrative to continue to be. But we know that's not the truth, so we got to call it out. If we sit back and not say anything and just let that narrative continue, that will be the narrative as it's been for years. So now that we have more information, we have more insight, we have more knowledge on what is happening, we got to talk. You can't let it just fade in the background. You got to bring it to the forefront.